to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, I'm the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com, and we are here tonight to discuss a movie called Hardcore Henry. His name is Henry, and he likes hardcore. I'm the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com. Joining me first up tonight, he built bloodygoodhorror.com. What have you done with your life? That's what he did. His name is Mark.
What's up?
He's also got some sick Where's Waldo glasses, and he showed up on time tonight, so he's my favorite person.
Man, today's my day.
My brother from the same mother.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, literally. Next up on the show, co-host of the Instamatic, he is also an author of horror fiction. His name is Casey Criswell.
Hello.
How's it going, Casey?
Pretty good. How are you?
My dogs are barking, literally. And last up here tonight on the show, chief in charge of books and reading at Bloody Good Horror. Her name is Cece.
Hello.
How's it going, Cece?
Pretty good. Just hanging out.
We decided to have the smartest person at Bloody Good Horror come on to review the dumbest movie we've ever reviewed.
Well,
I mean that in a loving way, but still. We're like, hey, wouldn't it be hilarious if we made Cece watch Hardcore
I was
Henry?
gonna say, I feel bad that I'm not going to be able to like add a whole lot to it. I'm just like, I was there, I watched.
Yeah. Well, Hardcore Henry. This is exciting. Mark,
What's up?
What's up?
you had some things you wanted to talk about, some bloody good horror type things.
Oh my god, so many things. First of all, thank you for anyone who joined in on Tweet with BGH this past weekend.
It was a good time.
I hear it was a great time, and I think that we'll probably do it again in another month or so. So thanks for that. As far as website news, we had Evan posted some video game stuff today, and I'll get to that in a minute. I actually did my first Let's Play video this week, which was super fun. I got to like record a video playing a video game, which is, slightly more productive than just playing video games.
It seems really silly until the first time you do it, and you kind of just go, oh, this is nice.
I found that I'm surprisingly good at talking to myself, which is a little disturbing. Yeah. But I did a Let's Play on Nuclear Throne, which is an indie game on Steam. It's really, really frustrating, but it's super fun. And I had some people tell me that they were thinking about getting the game after seeing it, which is pretty cool. And I've got actually, there's 2 games that I have kind of queued up that I want to do Let's Plays on. Not next week probably, but pretty soon after that. And it's got me thinking, like, we have a lot of, we have a lot of good BGH Plays videos on our YouTube channel anyways, and I'm kind of reaching out to some of the writers too to see who's interested in doing them. I know Evan's talked about being interested in doing some, and I just think it's it's cool. It's kind of a cool use of everyone's time, and something sort of unique that we can do as a horror show and website.
Yeah,
so.
it's kind of fun, and we've been trying to do more stuff on YouTube, so it's helped with that for sure.
Yeah. Also, and Casey, I saw your note, so I will get to you in a second. I just wanted to. So Joe left a very important note for me before the show that said, "Please don't forget to mention that." The boy band O-Town favorited one of our tweets recently, and
is it the official O-Town Twitter?
Yeah, like official.
Official.
BG Horror tweet from earlier. Back to a time when Arnold Schwarzenegger used to go on TRL to promote a movie. Luke reviews 1999's End of Days.
So you think they just have a Twitter thing for when anyone time mentions TRL?
Which is still fucking hilarious if that's like seriously.
Yes.
Because they've made the assumption that if someone's tweeting about TRL, they must be talking about O-Town.
Oh shit, this is a potential O-Town listener. We got to start following these people.
Like, what do you think their hit rate is for favorited? Like, nobody's probably talking about O-Town, right?
Oh,
Well, 1 in 1,000 tweets about TRL. Although I suppose that people talking about TRL would most likely be the people who are familiar with
We should
O-Town's body of work.
Yeah, we
so.
should just try to start working in like one TRL/O-Town tweet a day and just see if they auto like it.
Yeah, I mean, after years of porn stars liking our tweets, it's really refreshing to see Joe get excited about a new kind of favorite that we get on Twitter and take.
Yeah, like I got really excited the first time David Keckner liked one of my tweets about him, and then like literally just type the name David Keckner and it will get liked. He's got some kind of thing going on there.
I don't know if we want to try and see if this is a like bot or something like that. I'd hate to destroy Joe's enthusiasm.
I'll just tweet out TRL right now and see if I can.
Let's not forget to mention that we have a Snapchat now, and it's basically just Joe. So whatever you want to send to him,
It's
to
not
freak him
basically
out,
just Joe. It is.
it
Just
is. I thought.
There's no basically about it.
add BG Horror on Snapchat. Do whatever you kids do there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He asked me if I was cool with it, and I said yes, and he had it set up within 30 seconds. So I think he was kind of
Cool,
chomping at the bit.
cool, because I
for
already
the,
did it.
What's up?
Cool, because I already did it.
Yeah, cool, because I did it yesterday. So, Casey, you had some Instamatic business?
Yes, there's going to be a new Instamatic this week for the month where it's me and El Goro from the Talk Without Rhythm podcast talking about Henry Rollins and He Never Died.
Is that
All right.
That's
I wanted to see that. Can you give me a quick preview? Was it good?
It's very good. It's on Netflix, so it's easy to get to as well. It's a very black comedy, but if you're into those, you should enjoy yourself.
Awesome.
You know what else is going on? Game of Thrones.
What else is going on?
Game of Thrones is about to come back.
Isn't that in 2 weeks though?
No, it's this weekend.
Is this weekend?
I'm relatively short this weekend because I just restarted my HBO Now just for Game of Thrones.
Just for that.
Yeah, I got rid of it after last year because I'm like, well, I've already watched this other nonsense, so
I suppose I should finish the last season.
it gets pretty decent towards the end.
Yeah, then was better for me.
Regardless of just like the overall quality of each individual episode, I just love the thing so much now that I just need to always see the new thing with Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I understand.
it's got to pass for me. Like, just get me to the end. Let me know what happens with those dragons and stuff, and I'll be okay. Just don't pull a Dexter.
It promises plenty of naked dragons. There'll be lots of naked dragons this season.
Exactly. Cece, why don't you tell me about, you also host a podcast, another podcast for BGH.
I do, and it's all about books, because what else would I have a podcast about?
I can't think of anything more exciting. Why don't you tell us about the latest episode?
Yeah, so my podcast is Something Red, and we normally talk about, well, it's me, and I normally have a guest on, and we talk about either a book or a book and a movie, which is kind of what I've been getting into. So this past episode, which is on our main feed this month, is covering Lords of Salem, and I have my wonderful and all of your man crush husband on the show with me. So we talk about witches and Rob Zombie, and how if you hate the movie, you would probably really enjoy the book. So
you can just call him our husband.
Okay, I have your husband.
I was just gonna ask if he had sleeves on when you guys recorded. That's all I really care about.
Actually, he did that time.
Oh, wow.
But it's getting pretty hot down here in Georgia, so you'll probably start seeing more biceps.
Well,
out.
Cece,
Straight up hussy when it gets warm out.
well, Cece, they don't call
Yes.
it Hotlanta for nothing. So
I was telling Mark, no one in Atlanta calls Atlanta Hotlanta.
Of course not.
I know, and
Of
you should
course
have
not.
never told me that, because that's what I'm calling it exclusively.
Well, that's okay. I mean, you can call it Hotlanta. I was just, in case you visit
right.
and you're trying to be a local, don't call it Hotlanta.
So I shouldn't just go down there and just shout that at people.
Or Northwestern Hotlanta? Where are we?
I shouldn't just like walk down the street and
OTP and ITP.
yeah.
You tried to explain this to me one day, and then I probably forgot.
Yeah, because you're inside the perimeter or you're outside the perimeter. Inside the perimeter is the city, and outside is not, and that's pretty much non-existent.
Got it. So you're in the hot zone or the cold zone.
Precisely.
Cool.
Kind of makes it sound like a war zone.
Parts of it, I would imagine.
Yeah.
What's
Someone
the
got
perk
shot on
like
my
in
street.
Atlanta?
Someone literally got shot on the corner of my street today during work hours.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah, and one of Kyle's coworkers was in our neighborhood looking at a house and witnessed it, and he was like, I promise you that doesn't happen all the time. I'm like,
Wow. Hey,
well,
guess what? One time is enough, and I'm going to a different
time's
neighborhood.
so yeah.
Wow.
But yes, please listen to Something Red. Especially this last episode. It was really good.
Nice.
And Cece won't shoot you.
Is this an episode that's in the free feed, or would it be for patrons?
No, this one's in the free feed.
Very cool. So check that out. Just same feed where you get your BGH.
Yep, it's there.
My question is, if The Walking Dead leaves Georgia because of like the anti-transgender
Oh no, that didn't get
bill,
passed.
oh, it didn't. I was gonna say
Georgia
where.
takes money way too much to pass that.
I was gonna say, where else are they gonna find one generic stretch of road to shoot every single scene on from a different angle? I don't know.
I don't know either, but it's okay. I'm pretty sure it's staying.
At some point in like season 4, I remember just being like, "It's the same road. It's always
Well,
the same."
Technically, they are shooting on the same they're not at Pinewood. They're actually like about 10-ish miles away from Pinewood, and all of that looks similar. Like you could be on
Totally.
a different road, and it
Yeah.
still look the same.
Same. They should
But that's
just.
okay. They're staying.
I mean, they should just leave Georgia. Like nothing really good is happening there. You know what I mean?
Well, they're in Virginia now or
Or
something.
whatever.
aren't they? Or
Wherever they
DC?
are, they should just go somewhere else.
I mean, they could move filming to Australia, where we've already established that there's only one road.
It's true.
yeah.
Then it would be more true.
Yeah.
Casey,
Eric.
what do we got coming up as far as BGH topics?
Well, coming up next week, the week of the 15th, we're going to be covering Hush, directed by Mike Flanagan, who did
Ooh.
Oculus.
I liked me that
So-
Oculus.
Yeah,
Hush
and
is
that
really
is
good.
that's a Netflix joint. So if you're listening and you want to get caught up, you give that a watch this weekend, and you'll be like on par for the live show.
Nice.
Son of a bitch. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
out next week.
It was
that I'm
actually really
plugging
good.
for
You
our
should still watch
Patreon.
it.
At some point, it's just going to be me and Casey doing the show. Like before you guys got here, we dubbed the live show as now the Casey and Eric variety.
The Casey
Hour.
and Eric show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know.
You should sell that
busy
to
time, man.
Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Adult Swim.
Two beards
go.
talking.
2 beards. Oh.
Let's
That
see
could
after
mean
that.
multiple things.
Now, the entry after that is still up to debate because when we started talking about this in email for pre-planning, it caused Schnars to swear profoundly. But we have next on the list for the week of the 22nd, Huntsman, Winter's War.
No.
Listen, just take it out
Oh.
because everybody just became a giant titty baby when we started discussing it over email. So
Just because
Oh,
I
that's
wasn't
really
I wasn't
funny.
gonna pile on if you weren't going to take the hard stance. You clearly said we had a conversation about this, which is false.
I
We
would
did not-
like, listen, I would like our listeners to chime in because
Let me
I've been
finish.
saying on this show for like 6 months at least that we were going to review that movie.
You have been saying it. No one else was like.
But
"Yes,
nobody
we
ever
should
registered.
definitely-"
Everyone just went sure. Like no one ever registered a complaint. Then suddenly, I thought Joe was gonna burn the building down he was
Because
in.
Why waste our energy 6 months out?
Oh, what? Listen, I don't care. I lost the fight. That's fine. I just wanted to comment on how butthurt everybody was about it.
If more, there are less people
Butthurt.
that want to hear us talk about Huntsman than there are people that use RSS feeds actively. Is all I'm saying.
All I'm saying is just a lot of butthurt flowing over that. So Casey, you can strike that from the record.
Okay, I've taken it out. So with that in mind,
Just put a
we
sad
have,
face emoji
After
in there.
Hush, we have 3 open weeks
All right.
here. So we're going to be getting into some deep stuff in there, probably some deep cuts, and then we won't be back in the theater until the week of May 13th to see The Darkness.
Nice. There's got to be some decent stuff on demand or Netflix that we are not caught up with because I feel like
Oh,
Oh, I'm
sure.
sure.
after the staff picks, there must be some stuff in the hopper there.
Yeah.
Fans,
For
if you'd like to suggest something, hit us up at BG Horror.
I mean, we could just review Hardcore Henry every week.
That
There's
is
a lot
true.
of meat on them bones.
So much.
I was gonna say we could just review the peanut butter solution for 3 weeks in a row.
Oh my god. You know, say what you want about the peanut butter solution. It really stuck with me, pun intended.
Jesus.
Anything else you guys want to bring up here before we jump into it?
No, I think we about killed it.
Very
There
nice.
you
All right,
go.
guys, let's do it. Let's talk about Hardcore Henry.
Could there be a female gremlin? Lipstick, boobies, bitch, you have me and little gremlin for JJ. I love it so much that it's not only in the movie, but it's definitely in the movie. There's no backsies on that one, no penny taxis. Yes, 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 in the movie. Done! That's why we need a woman in the writer's room. Next.
Hey, I'm Tommy Ricola, director of Dead Snow and Dead Snow 2, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big breaking TV. Fuck the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
Lipstick, boobies, bitch, you had me at Gremlin Vacation.
Oh my god, it's my favorite bumper of all time. And also, I don't know if Cece remembers this or not, but at Horror Hound Weekend,
Oh my god.
That
was the best.
I was like screaming it over and over again because it was just my favorite thing that's ever happened.
Well, kind of
ever.
my favorite thing about that bumper too is if you don't have the context for it, you're hearing it and being like, "What?"
I mean, imagine being at a random horror convention with a drunk person screaming it. There's even less context.
Well, okay, but let's talk about the fact that, like, I know we kind of talked about it right after it happened, but to rehash, we saw a giant gizmo, and that in itself was impressive.
That was the best.
And then it got naked, and it was a woman gremlin.
Like,
good.
It was everyone in that hall lost their collective mind, and it was amazing.
Within weeks of Joe, of course, revealing his love for the female gremlin.
And Joe was there for it.
Yes, we had to hold Joe back. We had. To,
I was screaming like it's like Joe's subconscious created a cosplayer, which is like terrifying because I can only imagine what other things that would conjure.
Did they win? Did that person win?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh, of course. And then she carried Gizmo's head around like a trophy. It was really great.
Joe and I followed her around like we were getting a celebrity autograph or something so that Joe could get a picture of
so that Joe could get the creepiest picture of all time.
Oh, it's so good. Well, the other part too is that leading up to it, I got a picture with her when she was still Gizmo. So I just think it was like a perfect dichotomy of Joe and my personalities, you know.
Yeah. Joe's
a deviant and I'm a child.
Works out.
Hardcore Henry. Man, I didn't even pull the IMDb up for this, Mark. Should I? Why don't you tell me what it's about, and then we'll tell you some more about it after.
Who, me?
Yeah.
So if you saw the trailer for Hardcore Henry, you're pretty familiar with most of the plot. You basically wake up as Henry on a table. The entire film is from a first-person perspective. And you are not really a whole human. You're missing a foot, you're missing some other stuff, and a very questionably sensually dressed doctor is attaching robotic limbs back to you. And pretty soon after that, I mean, really, this whole movie kind of plays out like a video game. There's a moment where they are bringing Henry in to install his speech module. So they're kind of joking around and trying to pick the perfect voice for Henry, which is a scene that I actually wish they had kind of milked further. But in the course of that happening, there is a security breach, which, you know, in a sci-fi movie is usually tipped off by red flashing lights and loud noises. And there are a number of guys that kind of bust in, and there's also this character, I'm trying to look up his name, who is very clearly coded as the evil character. His name is Akan, is the character's name.
He's a Resident Evil villain, basically.
Yeah, he's a very pale-skinned, like white-haired, wispy man.
And he's magic.
Who has basically shown interest in kind of capturing Henry, right? What? You okay over there?
Yeah, CC just sent a picture of the gremlin lady in the chat here.
I'm sorry.
And basically, so that goes awry. Henry escapes with the doctor, or the scientist. She's the scientist, Estelle, and their escape pod crashes in the middle of the highway, and they're surrounded by all these mercenary guys. And basically, what tips off from there is like an hour and a half of Henry being chased around, trying to be captured and trying to avoid getting killed, and also killing people in very grisly ways. And over the course of that, he runs into a bevy of characters played by Charlotte Copley of District 9 and all Neil Blomkamp film fame. And we can get into spoilers later, but basically, much like Kenny from South Park, Charlton Copley's many characters keep dying these very grisly deaths, and then he pops up at all of the sort of integral parts in the story as kind of different characters, and we can explain what that is a little later. But basically, the whole movie is about Henry trying to escape all these people trying to kill him. Charlton Copley's many personalities kind of helping him out, and then honestly, like there's a little bit more story introduced in the end, but you spend 90% of this movie trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, much like Henry is. So that's kind of the thread that ties the whole thing together.
I would just like to point out that the director's name is Ilya Nashuler, and his only other directing credit is a 2013 short called Biting Elbows, Bad Motherfucker.
Well, which is, I mean, I haven't seen it, but I've read about it. It's this concept.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's this concept, but a short.
It also had
cool.
Charlton Copley in it.
Because why not? I think we broke Eric. It's just that fact. Just,
I was looking at the IMDb trying to figure out where Tim Roth was in the movie, and then I realized that he's the dad in the flashbacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim Roth. Great actor.
His line is just calling camera pussy is
Mark,
his whole line in the movie.
Mark, what do you think of Hardcore Henry?
Oh, man. So it's this should be a very interesting conversation. I didn't have super high or super low expectations going in, and honestly, it kind of delivered on exactly what my expectations were. We're like, this is a gimmick, and it's going to be over the top and crazy, and I really enjoyed it. I think that there are moments where it does become a bit much. Like it's very hard to pace a movie whose entire premise is like, holy shit, watch what crazy thing can happen in first person. Like, honestly, more so than any movie we've ever watched, this movie like really embraces the like you're in the driver's seat, everything that you're seeing is happening to you, and really this is if you remove like the paranormal activities of the world, this is the first movie where like you have like explosions and fight scenes and like all of this shit all in first person for the entire movie. And so it sort of lives or dies by how willing to entertain that you are. It's not really a great movie in a traditional sense, but like I had a lot of fun watching it. And, as a somewhat savvy moviegoer, a lot of fun kind of imagining how they did all of this crazy shit, because they do a lot of like really unique things in it. So,
Casey.
So I saw the original short. I thought it was cool. The short was like maybe 15 minutes or something like that. Perfect time for time frame for that kind of movie. Once this trailer started showing up for this one, I'll admit I had some preconceived notions that I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out, because it's like, I don't know, an hour and a half. So once I got in there, it turns out after like 15, 20 minutes, the gimmick wore thin for me, and I was kind of bored throughout the rest of it. It didn't do a whole lot for me. So there's nothing. I know I'm always big on preaching story, and I know this is a movie that is not one that necessarily requires a story. I see the angle you guys are going with the video game and stuff. I just didn't feel like I was enjoying sitting there for an hour and a half watching it.
Cece.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can kind of be in the middle of that, because most of the video games I played growing up were more like, Mortal Kombat and kind of like player on player video games. But I mean, I did play a little bit of Duke Nukem, so it kind of felt like I was in Duke Nukem, which is what I feel like they were going for. And the whole thing was filmed on a GoPro, right? Like it was like a first-person GoPro. Is that right? Didn't I read that right?
I mean, that sounds right. I believe you.
I mean, I think it is. I think it was all done on a GoPro. So like
really?
The idea of the film was really awesome, but I'm one of those people who I can't even look at my phone in the car while it's moving, that I get so sick. So I spent the majority of the movie kind of squinting and trying to watch it. So if you're really motion sickness, like if you're really, if you have a lot of motion sickness, I probably wouldn't see it in like a giant screen. But overall, like the concept's awesome. And I mean, the over the top like action and violence and gore was just, I mean, it's really fun. And if you can just kind of check out for that hour and a half, then it's enjoyable.
Yeah, so you are correct. According to IMDb, this was shot mostly.
That's right. I thought you were telling her that her opinion was
Yes.
correct.
Oh, thanks.
Well, that too.
You were correct. That is the right way to look at
This
this
was
movie.
shot mostly on a GoPro Hero 3s, which is the newest one that's out.
Yeah, the newest one.
And Biting Elbows is the name of the director's Russian indie rock band, which I would love to know what that sounds like. So that was just
My
a music.
favorite
So it was
Russian
just a
indie
music
rock band.
video for his band, basically, which is kind of cool. I was super pumped for this movie going in. I don't know why. I mean, I'm an avid video gamer.
Because you're a psycho. That's why.
I'm psychotic. I have zero attention span, and I love banana shit. So like everything about this movie just screamed, "You should enjoy this," and I was not disappointed. Like it is, they commit 100%. It is just bananas ass crazy from beginning to end. Charlton Copley should get so much credit for this movie because he's like a fucking tour de force, just hilarious. Like my audience was just dying, and it literally is like Kenny, like because it's the same character, and he keeps making sure to introduce himself so you know it's the same character. And literally at some point I realized I was watching an R-rated Ernest movie, which is maybe the greatest thing that they ever could have done with this.
Minus the Miak.
In fact, to the point where I enjoyed the gimmick a lot, but if you take away Copley from this film, like it way falls flat because his presence, having somebody in your point of view that's got charisma and presence and makes you laugh, goes so far to like tying everything else in together. Like otherwise it's basically a tech demo or something. And
That's true.
I really enjoyed like it really is a video game from the structure of the story to the physics. Like the things that are physically done in this movie are things you only see done in a video game world. They rip missions right out of games. Like there's a mission from the original Modern Warfare game. Literally like Copley's got the ghillie suit on like that dude does in that mission. And even where it's a silent protagonist, which they totally write in this knowing way of like Mark was saying, they're about to give him his voice module when the bad guy crashes in, so then he doesn't get it. So then suddenly he's just like the protagonist of every first-person shooter. He can't speak.
I mean, the elevator scenes, I think was that what you were talking about with Call of Duty? The elevator scene
No.
specifically was something that read super video gamey to me.
No, so the place where we will later go to the guy's lab, which we'll talk about later, that whole scene, like that place where they're at, I don't know what that is. It's it's a real place in Russia, and they say hotel at some point, but it's some kind of ex-Soviet thing that's like run down now. And there's a mission in Modern Warfare where you follow your sergeant wearing that ghillie suit, looking exactly like Copley, and you go through that whole thing, and it's like, you know.
I don't think it was accurate because I didn't see a random bear running through it. Like,
but I mean, that was so clear to me. That had
Chernobyl Diaries.
Chernobyl Diaries. That's what I was trying to think of with the bear scare.
That had to be a reference to me. It seemed super clear, and it's they go so much out of the way with all the other game stuff.
Well, there's another one, too, that we can talk about that Casey and I were talking about.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't really have any issues with the action. Maybe a few moments where they use kind of like some kind of sweep pans in order to transition where their cuts are, because they're trying to hide the cuts. And a couple of those things I had to go like, holy shit, and like turn away for a second. But for the most part, it really wasn't that bad. And it's just like, it's just gleefully crazy. And I think...
Yeah,
like by the time it was over, I was super pumped. I don't know what it was about this movie. Like I want to.
It's like the Crank movies, or like the Drive, or like Shoot 'em Up, or like Drive Angry. It's very much in that vein. And I mean, if you enjoyed those movies, then you'll really enjoy this one.
Yeah, the Crank ones, the Crank movies.
Well, I would think so.
It's
yes,
super.
I'm wrong.
It's super bloody too, like crazy gory and bloody. Lots of great effects.
I mean, so the thing is, I sounded super positive in my initial review, but I will jump on with Casey and kind of play devil's advocate a little bit. The one thing that this movie sort of suffers for, even when compared to something like the Crank movies, is like this movie has no real emotional core, because the only sympathetic character you have is the scientist that you're first introduced to, and you know nothing about her. It's like very... I said this movie's like almost borderline regressive because like she's like literally a hot scientist, and that's the only thing that you know about her. So there's no like he's not running towards anything. He's just running away from shit. It's like very reactive in that way. So that it's hard. If you're giving it like an objective film analysis, that's kind of where this movie just sort of shits the bed. But like, I honestly, it was so fun to me that I just didn't like, I was recognizing the shortcomings as they were happening, and I just didn't give a shit, which is kind of a mark of like how fun the movie was, I thought.
Yeah, like I think that with the Crank movies, like I enjoyed those, or like, shoot 'em up, but sometimes too much of that plot or like that emotional like anchor starts getting really cheesy for me, at least. And I'm like, I'd rather just see you blow someone's head off and just beat the shit out of them. I don't need to like hear you talk about it. So that's something that I liked about this. Like it was very much like you check in, you check out, and like
there's like
just
nothing.
enjoy the ride.
You know what it is,
You're
though?
just in for it.
You know what it is?
See, I can see what Mark's saying though, because I enjoyed Crank a lot the first time I saw it. I even like Crank 2 to an extent. There's just a little bit more for you to connect with in that movie with Jason Statham's character. So, and I know that's a product of the way they shot this movie, but for me, it left me completely disconnected from the movie, which, is granted a product of the way I watch a movie, but they, you just sit there. It's like, I don't care what happens because I don't know who this is supposed to be. I'm not buying that it's me.
In a way too, like, this movie's a ride, right? Like if we're talking about all of the things that we like or dislike, there might actually be, in the history of this podcast, this is kind of the most purely subjective movie that we could ever review, because objectively it's like not a good movie. I think we can all agree that objectively it's like
Disagree.
not there's no like huge quality to it outside of the action and special effects. So it's you like the ride or you don't like the ride, Some people don't like roller coasters that go backwards,
But it's also
kind of like
it's also like a new thing though, right? And I think that's part of it, and part of like why I appreciate it so much is like it's a new thing for a film to be shot on GoPros, and like because what's crazy about it is that it's shot on GoPros, right? And it's this weird indie little thing, and yet they put a lot of effort into it, right? Like the special effects are great, the action is great, the choreography is awesome,
like seamless. The effects are crazy. Like the effects are
it's super impressive.
It's so experimental in that way. To me, it feels like really kind of bleeding edge in the sense of testing like what people are into. You know what I mean? Like when movies first started showing to people in the early 1900s, like they didn't really know how long a person would sit in a theater. And so it took experimenting in years to figure out like, okay, an hour and a half, 2 hours is about how long a movie should be. Here's the act structure or whatever. And it almost feels like because technology is just advancing so rapidly, and like, VR is coming out now. Like I kept thinking about this movie in VR.
If I watched this on an Oculus Rift, I'm pretty sure I'd shit my pants.
You would probably die. You would probably die. But like we're going to start seeing more experimenting like this with this medium and with the medium of storytelling. And on the like not to like defend the kind of thinness of the story, but it really like this movie goes full video game. And I mean that in the sense of like it's Double Dragon, right? Like you see yourself with your girlfriend at the beginning of Double Dragon, dude walks up, punches her in the stomach, throws him over her.
Away,
it's like, so you're like regressive is an interesting way, but or like base, you know what I mean? It's like, hey,
no, it's
like
progressive in
the
2016,
plot is, hey, there's a pretty lady, and then they stole the pretty lady from you. You should go get the pretty lady back. But like, and I'm not defending it, but it's like they could not.
But it's like totally true.
It's exactly what it is. But
wow,
it's
that's scientist.
Like
questionably attractive.
But I'm not defending it. I'm just saying,
she's
like,
my wife now. Oh, actually, sorry. This is just to kind of bring some movie facts into this. You are told in the beginning that she is your wife, and like you have a ring. So you're told that she's your wife, and I think we accidentally just tipped our hand a little bit with the spoilers. But you're told in the beginning that she's your wife. So like what you're saying isn't wrong. It is totally like, but there is
but still, like, I mean, you could. I mean, even without her being, like it being said that she's your wife, you could still boil it down to, okay, this really attractive woman was helping me and she like was going to give me a voice box or a voice module and, then she got kidnapped. Like it kind of,
She
it already.
screwed my foot on.
Well, the only way you know is that she says it, right? I would have loved if they gave him a Borat voice, so the whole time he's like, "Where's my wife?" Like, just the whole
Well, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not defending it and saying that gives it an emotional core. I'm just saying, like, they literally went full video game. It's like Mario trying to get the princess back from the castle.
Right. I mean, it's very basic. Like that's very like it's.
But to me, it's just
foundation for a lot.
It's exactly what Mark said. Like it is an amusement park ride that just happens to be 90 minutes. You know what I mean?
Well, case in point, my theater, I didn't do it because I don't like to pay the extra money, but my theater was a D-Box theater. So the D-Box is that new tech they have with the moving seats for movies.
Oh no.
I still would have done that.
Hey,
I can't imagine why anybody would.
to.
But that literally makes it exactly like there was a Spider-Man ride at Islands of Adventure in Florida where you're sitting in a car that's moving around. It makes it almost exactly like that. Your seat's bouncing around and stuff like that.
They even go so far as
City.
They even go so far as like the way he's holding the gun in the frame in front of him is not the way you'd naturally be holding a gun. Like his arm's almost in the middle of the screen, and it's like it's
like
just
this.
It looks like it does in a HUD. You know what I mean?
The only way they could have embraced him more, right, is the little Doom face in the corner that gets progressively bloody as he was getting like kind of fucked up.
Let's talk about. Go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say let's talk about some of our favorite Charlton Copleys because. I was pretty fond. I was pretty fond of Brothel
because I have two clear favorites. My two favorites are Coked Out Strip Club Charlton Copley.
Yes, that was my favorite.
with the like white dude fro and a Speedo, like clapping two pistols together when there's like cocaine covering his face. Because honestly, like if he always plays the same sort of characters, which are this like quirky kind of science-y person that can hold a gun, and that was just like such a far departure. And in that same vein, the like old-timey general version of him that appears towards the end, I thought was like in a movie that has almost no dialogue. I thought all of his lines were so brilliantly written. Like he keeps referring to someone as the cripple, which sounds really offensive, but like he's saying it very seriously, and he very much embodied that like I am a person from the Civil War, like I am this I love that. So that
one was really great too because it was so analogous to the entire rest of the movie because everything's high tech. Harry's got robot arms and metal knuckles, and then you got this old school World War I general walking around.
Totally. I loved it. It was like such a good. I mean, his characters, like to Eric's point earlier, are such a good juxtaposition because everything's like very serious, shoot 'em up, everyone's a fucking mercenary, and then you just get like I also love the hippie one too. Like you get these like really goofy kind of characters that add a lot of levity to a movie that could like really just be super grim.
I loved the hippie guy, and I really liked how they reference each other. Like I don't know if it was the general, but he makes some comment. He's like, "Oh, okay." Oh no, he's like, "Well, you show up and you meet the general." And he says, like, you smell like reefer. He's like, that damn hippie or something like that.
Yeah.
Are you high?
I like the homeless. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Cece.
Oh, no. I mean, I was just saying, I agree with Mark. My favorite's the cracked out Charlotte. Like, he's just, I mean, any of his characters, I would watch any movie with him in it. He is phenomenal. And to see him, like, see his range in a movie, like, especially where you don't get a whole lot of dialogue, is just, it was really smart to have him.
And I think he was if I'm not mistaken, you guys can correct me because my memory's terrible, but I think he's the second version that you see. So like you are introduced to the first version pretty early on, if I'm not mistaken. And then
I think he was the third.
The third? Okay, maybe not. So it's just like, you're expecting
No. The homeless guy was the second because you don't realize he's coming back. And then all of a sudden this creepy homeless guy gets on the bus. And then he looks up at him and he's like, "It's me," and you're like, "Oh,
okay." So that's the moment where you're like, "What the fuck's going on?" And then when you get to the coked out one, you're like, "Okay, now really, what the fuck's going on?"
Yeah,
I don't understand. Yeah. Shit.
I mean, so part of what's cool for me is it just feels, even though it's like oddly, it's a big movie, I guess, like theoretically, but it's kind of like small in scope in a weird way because it's all just taking place around you, right? But what I thought was neat was, like, when you play a first-person shooter, you're essentially walking through like pre-scripted sequences, right? Where they're scripted to be epic by things blowing up in front of you, and you like trigger guys coming at you or whatever. And by the time you finish your way through a first-person shooter level, you get this feeling of like, holy shit, like that was crazy what I just did. You know what I mean? And this movie, because it doesn't stop, right? So it's like one journey from the moment you fall out of that thing to the end is like such a when you really step back and look at it, it's such a crazy epic thing. Like that was just an aspect I thought was really fun.
There was, and for me who didn't like this movie, who claims I didn't like the movie, there's parts of this movie that I did think was really cool. And I fully agree, like with what Eric's saying on the technology side of this, that we're on the verge of something new. So it's kind of cool to see that. It's just, to me, it felt like at the end, like the first Transformers, where it's like, oh, this is too much. I just want it to be over.
Oh, this is so much better than Transformers.
but there's some really cool stuff that's going on in there, and a lot of the video game comparisons and the stuff that they throw in there is what really catches me. Mark hinted towards it earlier, but one of the other video games that I think they cribbed directly from, like you were saying with Modern Warfare, is I think it was Left 4 Dead 2 still, but Mark said it might be Left 4 Dead 1. But there's a scene, there's a level on that game where you fight your way to the top of a skyscraper and you're on a helicopter landing pad. You have to go into a little building and call in for help and then wait. And that was almost shot for shot in this movie.
Well, even that, like he's kiting the guys, right? Like he's kiting them like you do in the game. You get in the room and you just stand there and wait for them to pop in the doorway and just pop them. You know what I mean? Like that. That's what's, I don't know. That part was really funny to me too.
They even had like the little ammo closet in the back because they got blown back into the wall, and the guns and grenades and shit are falling over.
So cool. I mean, you know what's great? Shooting things in video games. It's the best.
More and more, like I know we're sort of harping on this, and we kind of talked about. Well, I listened. You guys talked about it in Purge 2 last week. Like this movie, to me, if you view it through the lens of just like a video game as a movie, it's almost like immune from criticism. And it's so like but you also get like. You get the same glee when he finds a room with a bunch of weapons. You're like, yeah, new weapons, because that's the feeling you get when you're playing a game, and that sort of thing happens. So it's the video game thing is like, you guys are just so smart and amazing, and it's just such a great way to talk about this movie.
It's a cool thing that like this movie got made, and then I would more expect to see this on Netflix, honestly, than like see it in theaters. And I think it's a testament to how kind of neat the idea is, that it seems like a lot of people saw it in festivals and went, huh, that's kind of
I will say
cool.
too, if I can put on what I was trying to say when my mic was muted earlier, if I can put on my schnarrs pants, this movie this past weekend made $8 million worldwide on a $10 million budget.
Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, that was you trying. I see what you did.
I was typing. No, I was typing and I
thought you were trying to be sneaky and...
No.
And that would have been a really good reaction to me putting on my pants.
That's what I thought it was.
Sorry.
Anyways,
sorry.
So, like, you know, making $8 million back in your first weekend on a $10 million budget is not like a blockbuster success, but it's also not an out-and-out failure, you know?
Yeah, no, it's
well,
such a different
especially
thing.
for a small, or like, you know, a small idea that has grown so much. I mean, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
I
think
I would like to see a sequel with more money and more Copley's, although I don't know that makes sense. Do you want to bring us into the ending, Mark, so we can talk about the batshit craziness?
Before you jump into the ending, I'll kind of cut in here. Since we're talking about how there's something new and exciting stuff like that, there's another movie that is out there right now in the direct-to-video market called Pandemic that is shot the same way. And it's more about a viral outbreak type thing. That one stars Missy Pyle, who is in Galaxy Quest. I think she's the biggest name that's in it. Rachel Nichols is in there. Mekhi Phifer, but Pat Healy, who we've seen lots of his movies, is in there too. So that one just happened to come out and hit video right at the same time, so they're kind of competing. So it's interesting that this one was able to get a theatrical traction versus a direct-to-video.
Does Pat Healy play a really put-upon dude?
I'm sure.
That seems to be his forte. Mark, tell me what happens in the ending. What do we get revealed to us in the ending of this film?
Okay, so I'm gonna, you guys feel free to jump in and correct me because it's all becoming blurry with a little bit of distance. But, basically, as Eric sort of alluded to, for most of this movie, so early on in the movie, one of the Charlton Copleys gives Henry a phone, and the phone is your sort of HUD in video game terms, and like, you know, I made it to this point, and it you know, gives him a new destination to go to. And throughout the movie, he's sort of following his phone, and then in following his phone, he ends up in this abandoned sort of, like Eric was talking about earlier, this like hotel or whatever, just this like big, totally kind of gutted building.
It's like Russia somewhere, basically.
It's like, so yeah, it's like Soviet Russia.
Yeah, right.
And with bears everywhere, and hidden in this like just sort of like blasted out building is a very high tech science lab, and
Science.
so there's a reveal in that all of you are given the origin of all of these sort of characters, which is that Charlton Copley also plays a scientist who I can't remember what the exact reason was, but he's physically handicapped. He's bound to a wheelchair, and it turns out that he was a scientist or researcher for the company that's run by evil Wispy guy, and they are trying to create a bunch of military clones. And he kept kind of messing up. The reason that they cited was that they couldn't find a way to motivate non-human soldiers. That was his big failure, was that you know, they could create these crazy fucking killing machines, but they couldn't figure out, like, you know, the way to motivate them like you would motivate a human soldier with patriotism or that sort of thing. So he is ousted. He's ousted from this program, and as his sort of act of revenge, he continues the work that he was doing, but he creates clones of himself. So the various versions of him that you've seen throughout the movie are clones of him with different kind of personality traits. There's like the hippie guy, there's the coked out guy, there's the old-timey general, there's the like hardcore military guy, and
which is a really odd way to make clones.
It really, well, it's like he's like, I guess he sort of said this, but he's like making clones of like different aspects of his personality, which means like he's just every kind of person you could possibly be, because he creates like this really diverse set of clones. And so this moment kind of happens where he realizes that Henry's video, the reason that he's been able to like be tracked so well, is that his video is beaming to the headquarters of this like military company place, and also now he has given away the coordinates of the secret lair by virtue of being tracked this whole way. So that leads into this just fucking crazy like 20 minutes until the end of the film, where basically there's this moment where the Charlton Copley character, and I should just call him by whatever his character's
Jimmy
name.
or
Jimmy.
yeah.
Jimmy. Why didn't I just say Jimmy? So much easier. So Jimmy kind of distrusts Henry now, but in the midst of them getting into like a little scuffle, now all of these other like mercenaries have sort of found them. So it's created this crazy shit show where they have to get Jimmy into the headquarters of Akan's company and basically take the company down from the inside, which is like, again, such a video game sort of deal. Like there's a really tense elevator ride where they've got to kill dudes before the elevator reaches like it's all very video game till they're on out. But the whole point is that they have to find a way to get Jimmy in his sort of immobile state into this compound and kind of take down this big company. And if you want me to go sort of full spoilers, if you haven't figured it out already by listening to it, Henry is one of those military clones.
Twist.
Really. And so it like honestly very neatly explains why all of these things have been happening, why they've been able to find him. You also find out that his wife, if we haven't again already tipped our hat in that direction, is not his wife. They found these sort of X factor to motivate all these soldiers, which is the first thing they see is this attractive woman who's taking care of them that says she's their wife. And so every one of their soldiers basically fight to the death knowing that they can get back to this woman. So this whole thing that you've been kind of following this whole time makes sense, but really Henry is just one of hundreds or thousands of like sort of military super clones. Twist.
Which actually, I mean, if you boil it down, I mean, like that's a very like the Virgin Mother archetype is a like, I mean, like we said earlier, that's a foundation for so many stories. So even though like they kind of cram it all in at the end, like that's very much. I mean, it has a plot, like it's got.
Don't listen.
Got
Don't,
a direction.
Don't
It's
try
just,
to bring your smart shit into my dumb movie, okay, Susie?
Why am I here?
I'm just kidding.
Well, but it also like really sort of like gives the whole sort of regressive thing we're talking about. Like, of course, a fucking robot would be motivated by the fact that the only person it knows in this world is the person that is told that it's its wife. You know?
Right. I mean,
I love the idea that it's like a really elaborate remake of Double Dragon.
Yeah.
you're really stuck on that.
I mean, the gut punch. It's like it's so iconically terrible. The gut punch
In
and
Double
the
Dragon,
dragging away of the.
in the arcade version of Double Dragon 3, dudes roll up and shoot your girlfriend, like dead.
I mean, that reminds me of the Irreversible movie. In that movie, like,
What did she ever do to you?
Double Dragon 3 reminds you of Irreversible?
yeah,
It's okay.
being gut punched or being raped in front of your boyfriend. I mean, it's extreme, but it's still pretty
different
fucked up.
Anywho,
Um,
one of the things that I honestly like, if we're like continuing to be critical of this movie, so I get when all these plot points are tied up, like I get the idea of these soldiers, and the only thing they know is that they're fighting for their, for their wife and like all this
Their
stuff.
wife.
But the one thing in this movie that like I feel like could have used an explanation is why Akan, the like main bad guy, had fucking crazy telepathic powers.
Because video game.
Yeah, I mean,
all you need.
Right, but like, just give me something, like just a little bit.
See, there's
do
this.
you need a chemical spill to
Yeah.
like you just?
I'm not even kidding. That would have been fine because like it's a thing that stands out, right?
Right.
There's two kinds of characters in this movie. There's like crazy super soldier mech guys and humans, and like all of a sudden you just have this like weird little fucking Andy Warhol looking dude has telepathic.
Mark, let me tell you about the
but
Umbrella
no, like really what it
Corporation.
is, it's a juxtaposition of like the mechanical like physicality of Henry versus like and the emotional intellect of like of a character who's not a badass like Henry. He's not like a physical like killing robot. He's like this intellectual that is trying to
Moves shit
control
with his
people.
mind.
Yeah. So I mean that's what it is, but I understand needing.
I mean, of all the things to nitpick, like that's whatever. But like, I'm not even kidding. I would have loved like a fucking Ninja Turtles chemical spill or something, or like some sort of origin story that.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, Mark. And it could have been as simple as we already know they got cybernetic parts and so tell us he's got magnets in his hand and it would have made him more powerful against Harry.
Give him one of those like Spider-Man silly string canister arm mechanic thing. So the other thing I left out, which is like only partially important to the story because the story in this movie doesn't fucking matter, is that Henry is like a real person who was blown up by this Akan character, and when they turned him into a super soldier, they blocked his memory. So one of the things that happens at the end of the movie is that his memories are all like opened up, and he realized he's a real boy, like towards the end of the movie, which is like kind of important, but like not really. The ending is meant to be kind of impactful, and like there's like this rush of humanity that's supposed to like come over you at the end of the movie. But at the end of this movie, I was just like, that was really cool. Like that was a fun. I'll go play another video game now,
It was cool when he stabbed that guy in the throat.
Yeah, we didn't actually. That's funny for a movie that is totally sold on violence. We didn't talk about any of it.
It's
like
super violent. How's that?
Oh my god, just so much murder.
And murder,
so much murder. Honestly, one of the things that I found the most sort of disturbing about all of it was when they fucking shot like a rocket into the bus, and the bus was like on fire, and there was just like just innocent people just fucking burned to death.
I really enjoyed the chase scene when he's chasing the guy. That's pretty early on, actually, when he's trying to get the guy's battery. We didn't mention that like he periodically has to steal batteries. He's got to steal batteries from these other robo soldiers, and then he learns how to jam them into his chestal cavity, which we see pretty
much like Crank.
explicitly.
Also, like if we're continuing to draw video game things, like this sort of strip club scene had a very GTA feel to me. Maybe that's just because like that's a game where.
Well, it was definitely a video game in the way like if there's ever boobs in a video game, the camera always makes sure to go boobs and like pan over, and he totally does that when he walks in the strip club. He just like focuses on every pair of boobs in the room.
Boobs over here, boobs over there. They're everywhere.
It's his it is his motivation. It's like him leveling up. He's got to like absorb as much as possible.
It's like
I feel like this movie would have been more realistic if like the whole movie he's like fighting for his wife and then he goes to the strip club and the rest of the movie is him just sitting down at the strip club. I'm like, forget it. I don't need to find anything. I'm just
this place seems okay. Mark, you know what I'd love?
Oh my God. I know what you're going to say, but I want you to say it.
To hear a movie guide. I read a movie guide in your absence, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. And I got
probably last week for the Prudge, right?
I got that weird spam pop-up when you go to their website. It's like, hey, do you want notifications from the movie guide? And I was like, no. Because you mentioned you were getting spam things in Windows.
Oh, in Windows.
That's what you say. You said you were getting weird spam notifications from them.
Well, I'm getting them on my Mac and my little notifications. If you turn on browser notifications, it pushes like, you won't believe what Terry Crews had to say about porn. Like you get little updates.
Like an RSS feed?
Terry Crews, addicted to porn.
Is he?
That was his whole deal, was that he was...
Is that why his arms are so big?
My fiance watches E! News, so I hear about these things twofold. I hear about them from Movie Guide, and I also hear about her from this. Apparently, Terry Crews was addicted to porn and is now kind of an advocate speaking out for African-American men who are addicted to porn. That's his deal.
Now he's just addicted to HGH?
Oh, man. Leave Terry Crews alone.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He, man, I don't know where we were going to go from there, but I just wanted to...
waiting on this movie guide, brother.
Yeah, okay, we're back on Movie Guide. So, spoiler alert, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, but I'm like really just going to read accounts of grisly violence by Movie Guide, our Christian moral compass that tells us how we're supposed to feel about mainstream movies and the weird things it does to our brain. So, Hardcore Henry features a very strong pagan, love it, nihilistic worldview with very light moral elements against a totalitarian villain with kinetic powers who wants to take over the world for some reason, but tinged with a brutal, violent, and even sadistic attitude. At least 61 obscenities, 6 strong profanities, and 7 light profanities. Non-stop, frequently extreme, graphic, gory, and bloody violence includes many headshots with blood spurting, some heads and parts of heads and other body parts blown off, slow motion credit sequence shows, among other ultra-violent images. We left that out. I want to talk about that in a second. Knife piercing man's neck and coming out the other side. Man stabbed in eye. Gruesome images of corpses. People open up gory chest cavities of 2 or more cyborg characters to retrieve mechanical mechanisms or electrical wires. Man's spine is deliberately broken. Explosions, car chases, gunfights, limbs broken, hand-to-hand combat. People tossed around like ragdolls. Villain has telekinetic powers like something out of Star Wars in all caps. Lots of jittery and sickness-inducing running and jumping and shooting. Armies of men attack. Extensive scene in a strip club and a brothel where half-naked women walk around while characters talk a lot. Is that what they were offended by? Run around and fight. Includes shots of men in rooms with some of the half-naked women and shots of some of the women briefly coming up closely to the protagonist and curiously looking at him. Lightly implied fornication between 2 characters who are seen kissing in a later scene in the woods. A semi-nude photo of a woman in another scene. Multiple shots of upper female nudity and some upper male nudity. Alcohol use, smoking, and man snorts cocaine. And strong miscellaneous immorality includes wanton destruction of people and property, stealing, the cruel intentions and taunts of the main villain against the hero, and a ruthless betrayal.
That's all true, my friend. I do prefer my fornication to be lightly implied, so.
I do love, like, I honestly, this movie more so than any, should just read off the movie guide as like an ad for the movie, because it's awesome. Also, I love telekinetic powers like something out of Star Wars in all caps. Star Wars in all caps.
He really is a Resident Evil villain, I think. He's like straight out of Umbrella Corp.
Yeah, like I don't know if he
It's
had
just
like
dumb.
the red eye, but he probably, they probably wrote it in and then took it back. Like he has
He
one
had
red
2
eye.
of them. He was albino, wasn't he?
Yeah,
maybe.
technically.
Sure. Anything else you guys want to talk about this movie?
Well, so I just wanted to say that we didn't talk about the opening credit sequence, which was mentioned in this movie guide, which is like very slow motion images of like people getting stabbed and shot.
It's him.
That was cool.
It's him.
I think in hindsight is kind of brilliant because it's priming you for like all of the fucked up shit that you're about to see.
Yeah.
It's all
In case
Henry.
you miss it later on, here it is in slow motion.
It's all Henry being messed up. They're showing you him getting basically broken before he's rebuilt.
That makes sense.
Because
made that connection.
Because there's something that mentioned by the villain in the beginning, one of the beginning scenes, that I was like, oh, okay, he's describing what they did to him in the opening. Yeah, like stabs his neck, like in one side of the neck, and they show you slow motion, the skin like parts and the knife comes out the other side. It's insane.
Also, it would not be a theatrical release if I didn't talk about the person in my theater who brought a 5-year-old.
What?
And
that is too old.
And left like 15 minutes in. I'm surprised they made it 15 minutes. Like, what the fuck were you thinking? This is like more
my
so
God.
honestly, like, you know, you could bring a kid to Paranormal Activity or something and it'll scare the shit out of them, but it won't like fucking. This movie is like is purposefully and ridiculously violent. Like, it's gleefully violent.
Yeah.
Jesus.
My crowd
can't even imagine.
was way into it. I think Copley got a lot of laughs, but I got to give props to. It was 11 a.m. on a Sunday, and it was one of those eating theaters. And dude in front of me got like 2 or 3 different meals and was like slamming beers. So the poor like waiter kid had to come back like 10 times. He just was like downing beers at like 11 a.m. on a Sunday.
Fuck around with the portions at those places either. They bring you like, if you order a cheeseburger,
It's
they
like a
bring you like a
restaurant.
fucking
Huge
cheeseburger.
burger.
They bring you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Would you recommend Hardcore Henry, Mark?
If you're looking to turn your brain off and spend money and have some fun, yeah, I think so.
Casey?
I think it's worth it for the spectacle.
Cece?
Yes, but I probably wouldn't see it in theaters.
I'm going to say 2 thumbs up, son. I would see it in theater. If you're like me and you're just really dedicated to turning your life into the internet and just really liking just ignorant cinema, I think you have to go see this. Hardcore Henry. Eric BGH, 2 thumbs up. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the review. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 3. Freddy's back for more.
That was great. If you've seen 1 and 2, you have to see number 3. Totally bizarre. A total nightmare.
It was better than all of them combined. Freddy's a nut.
A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 3. Dream Warriors. Rated R.
Now playing at a theater near you.
Hi, this is Mark Corvin. I'm the music composer for The Witch, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back in the house. I gotta say, I'm sorely disappointed in Cece's lack of bumper dancing tonight.
All right, next time I'll prepare. I'll have a few drinks beforehand because I have no rhythm whatsoever, and I look like that video.
Is that stopping Mark and I?
No, you know that video where the guy is like, "Oh, and now do the fork in the garbage disposal." That's pretty much how I dance. Like I only dance from the waist up, and there's just like a lot of arm flailing.
That's what I want. Have you seen
Okay,
Joe?
well, next time.
Yeah, have you seen Joe? Something about that Nightmare on Elm Street commercial like really made me laugh when they're like, "It's better than all the other ones combined," and I'm just like, that doesn't mean anything.
I mean, that is kind of true. It is actually better than all of the other ones.
Yeah, sure. The other 2, sure.
I mean, it's definitely better than the second one.
Man, the internet's great.
Sure.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. First up, Chris says, I want to apologize for my nerd raging email last week about Batman v Superman. I got a little heated just because I love that movie, and I'm so embarrassed for sending an email like that. Anyways, great episode on Purge Anarchy and BGH New Class is always a delight to hear. The analogy of the movie being like an open world environment akin to GTA was a cool idea. I was wondering, do you guys think you'll do Independence Day 2 for the show? I feel like it fits the one blockbuster summer type movie a year you guys like to do. Sincerely, Chris from Orlando. I got to say first, like, there was nothing wrong with Chris's email. It was just too long. Like, it was just way too long to read. And also,
so
Evan,
there was a thing wrong with
but
it.
Yeah,
also,
there was something there.
Evan did not seem very receptive to having the conversation about me liking Batman versus Superman, so I figured we'd just move on.
Hey, shout out to Evan for representing for me on that show and bringing up the boss example that I brought up about the Purge Anarchy.
I got it. It's all about that flaming bus rolling through the background. It's amazing.
Man, I loved that movie. The more I think about it, the more I thought it was fucking awesome. I just thought I mean, I'm sure that I would have bad things to say about it if I was like really digging in, but it's just so much like what I wanted the first movie to be.
I'm pumped for election year, and the fact that it's coming out on 4th of July is just kind of the best.
Oh my God, it's during an election year? Can you imagine that? Did you guys already make fun of Joe about that last week?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't there, so it's not as fun, but...
I mean, it's better him than me, because that sounds like something that I would do too. Like, holy shit, it's called election year. Are you kidding?
Next up, Roger says, hey guys, I've tweeted you guys a bunch at Robale, but only once sent an email that Eric didn't read. This was before Schnars had to show him how to use Gmail, so I'm not offended. I've been listening live since about episode 150. With Patreon and getting a new job with lots of driving, I finally caught up and can say I've now heard every single episode. Except that damn Europa Report one you refused.
Mother of God.
You refused to release. I just wanted to say thank you for the hours of entertainment. I'm no Ivy League spreadsheet maker, but if you guys think about it, there's got to be over 20 days worth of content there. My wife thinks I'm creepy because I talk to her about shit you guys say, like I know you personally. When I'm buying beer, I say, oh, Joe likes this. Or when she tells me garbage people isn't a real term, and I insist that it is because Eric said it. Or how I bought socks and said, oh, this guy in the socks looks like Casey. Or when she told me that getting a Gremlins tattoo isn't something that adults do. As for Schnars, he's out of my tax bracket. I say tomato, he says tomato, but I like him anyway. So cheers to you all, and thank you.
I do have to say, Rebale, he did send me a picture of the socks he got with me on them, and it was pretty good likeness.
Nice. Thank you to Roger for that email. That's pretty cool. I do the same thing. Like, I listen to a lot of the Giant Bombcast, and I often talk about the people on there as if I know them. I think it's a function of bringing people into your world every week, and also like, because listening to a podcast is an active thing, it's kind of more personal in a weird way. Like, you're not just casually catching your favorite podcast on the radio. Like, you're actively choosing to bring us weirdos into your life. So I don't think it's that weird.
We're a little bit more than Ira and the douche.
Ira and the douche. I did actually do that on purpose that time. Ira and the douche.
Man, I wish that it didn't cut out, because you could totally have a soundboard and we could really just turn this into a...
No, I mean, I could do that. I could totally do that.
No, but congrats on making it through all of them. That's amazing.
Yeah,
and
that's
crazy
very cool.
And kind of embarrassing for me retroactively thinking about it.
I actually, it's been kind of nice. I feel like people go back to the classics and get, we always talk about it's hard for us to listen. The feedback we've been getting is like people have been enjoying those conversations, even though show sounds different, we sound different, the bumper, the fucking intro is terrible, but like people still seem to be getting some enjoyment out of that. You can too if you want. Check out patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
Yeah, we got some BGH classics if you're ready for that segue.
And get access to all those back episodes. If we've been asking people to hit us up on Twitter, #BGH Classics if you hear something funny and or dumb in those shows, Mark.
Yeah, so there's a #BGH Classics that people are using. Did you guys read them last week?
Yeah, maybe one or two.
All right, I'm going to read one. You tell me if you heard it. Dirty Bennett, drunken midget screaming into a microphone.
No,
no? Okay, good. So we're off to the races. He does not say what episode that is, but next one is from Nerds of Gore. The look on Schnar's face was like when a mole sees sunlight for the first time. Eric discussing a horror hound trip.
Yeah, yes. The Schnars' first horror hound was definitely like, it was opening his eyes to the world.
Yeah.
It may have been a more specific story, but I do remember that about Schnars.
He was, yeah. Well, I mean, it was our first time meeting him, most likely. And,
Also, let us never let him forget that he clogged the toilet.
Oh, he fucking clogged the shit out
And
of
we
the
had-
toilet.
Blame it on me.
And we had to fucking call like maintenance.
You know, when they say you never get a second chance to make a first impression,
Yeah.
John clogging the fucking toilet is
We had to call
definitely-
maintenance, and we'd only been there one night, and the hotel room was trashed. It was like pizzas and beers everywhere. It was insane.
Let's also point out that he didn't clog the toilet because he blasted a Monster Dookie in there. He clogged the toilet because he put like 3 rolls of toilet paper in there. I think maybe he was going for like a wet bandit scenario, or he was like or he was like pranking us or something. I don't know.
I'll never, for as long as I live, I'll never forget him strolling out of the bathroom being like, I think we gotta call maintenance, you guys.
I mean, it's just the most aggressive. Hopefully he has a bidet now, because I just imagine he's the most aggressive wiper that we've ever done.
Unclean.
Or he uses like really, really, really soft toilet paper.
Yeah. He's got some wipes.
God have
Listen,
mercy
Schnars,
on
this is what
his
happens when
face.
you don't show up to the show, buddy. Sorry.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Next one is from Mary McDonald. Let's fucking make Saw movies again. Where's my Saw/Hostel crossover? Sawstel, Eric.
Thank you. That's from last week, but I'll take it.
That's from last week?
Yes.
Oh, no, maybe. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We did. It's because we read that last week, but it was a classic. Yeah. So I think.
Got it.
I believe
Okay.
we're caught up now.
Next one is from Spook It Podcast. I have a very important baby drowning to attend. Eric Poltergeist episode.
Wow, I don't remember that.
I kind of feel like that was me that said that, but it must have been in reference to what the fuck was that movie? The bad movie that ended with the girl drowning off the road.
But she said the Poltergeist episode. It's that movie. It's I don't know, one of those found footage possession-y movies.
Yeah,
because like it was the priest just like straight up just dunks the baby, and you're like, what the fuck?
It must have been in close proximity to that. I wonder if it was like us
possibly.
reading a question about that. But fuck that movie. That movie was terrible. Next one, Robale. Mother Newell's Blair Witch Corner Doll and Midget Gallagher, episode 159.
Yes, yeah. Our mom has a creepy little kid doll that sits like it looks like it's in the corner doing something, but it just always reminds me of the end of the Blair Witch.
It's like something you would get at a craft fair.
Yeah.
Like the doll is like, it's like a little white doll and little suspenders and like a little newsboy hat covering its eyes, and you put it in the corner. It's supposed to look like it's playing hide and seek. And it actually just looks like a living doll that's trying to kill you.
And instead, it's a creepy murder doll. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's some like Christmas tree bullshit. Christmas tree shop. It's like something.
Also,
like that.
she has a Coca-Cola Santa from 1955, which I'm pretty sure is a real person who is drunk all the time.
It
and
looks like a
that's-
drunken dwarf or something.
It looks
It's
like a
really
real,
scary.
yeah. It's real. It's real fucked. Times were simpler. This last one, this is strange. This is from That Baseball Joe. Only in America someone would want to visit the ghetto. Eric BGH on New Orleans, episode 242, the last exorcism.
Jesus.
I got nothing to say about that. I don't know.
I was gonna say Sophie's gonna be kind of upset.
No, although
you know,
242
New Orleans is her,
no,
is her city.
242 was probably around the time I went to New Orleans and just really didn't like it, and it's angry about it.
It's a running meme throughout the show is that Eric fucking hates New Orleans.
I'm not gonna go on because I know, Mark, I'm a buzzkill.
Well, Joe's not here, so I can say fuck New Jersey. Is that an okay
Sure.
thing to say? Okay, so that's it for the BGH classics. Thank you for sending those in. If you have any more, please mention the episode, because we are old men and women that cannot remember when these things happened. So there you go.
We're also info at Bloody Good Horror. Oh, I was just gonna say, sorry. Hashtag Ask BGH is the other hashtag.
For sure. First one's from Alan Merch. Should I change my Twitter handle to J.K. Rowling's piss flaps? Ugh.
Oh God.
What? Also,
No.
whatever happened to the Ask Joe segment of the show?
Is that something Joe said?
I don't know.
I would have gladly.
I
I
have no
mean, I'll
idea.
listen. Send in your life queries to Joe, and I'll be happy to have him answer them on the show.
I know, like you have to come up with a heady enough question, because we don't have enough time and we're also lazy. So if you have a burning life question that you want to ask the weirdest person you've ever met, you should definitely float those our way. There you go. Next one. This is from Jer Bear Gutkin on April 7th. Happy National Beer Day. What's y'all's favorite beers at the moment of all time?
I like a good Chimay Blue. It's probably one of my favorites.
Chimay.
Yeah, have you ever had it? It's the nectar of the gods. It's so good. Monks
I'm big on IPAs of late.
Fucking monks make
it.
I recently had a beer from Solemn Oath Brewery in Chicago, which if you follow us on Instagram, you saw a picture of Joe and my triumphant trip there. They just released like a limited run stout called the Most Important Beverage of the Day. And it's like a imperial breakfast stout that is like really pretty delicious. I actually haven't had a beer in almost a month.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I'm drinking whiskey on the show.
Yeah.
But
it's not a fancy beer, but I think that the Brooklyn Brown Ale is like in my top 5. It's an incredible beer.
One of the more drinkable brown ales.
A simple pleasure, you might call it.
For sure.
Y'all's husband really appreciates Creature Comforts Athena about this time of the year.
I follow Creature Comforts on Instagram, and it might be because of one of you guys. I like keep seeing posts popping up, and I have no idea why. And I just imagine it's because I was drunk and I was on Instagram and someone mentioned it, and I was like, yes.
I mean, Kyle really likes Creature Comforts, and one of our friends, that's their brewery in Athens, Georgia. So try it out.
We answered something similar to this last week. I don't know if it's the same one, but I also brought up Old Chub was like my favorite at the time. I kind of stopped being able to drink beer.
Man, Old Chub is a salty something or other.
I did some damage to myself with that stuff, but it's delicious.
Also, there's just that aspect of like in like a really gravelly voice saying you're drinking an Old Chub, you know? just pounding an Old Chub as you do. Okay.
Just throwing it back.
Next one is from Nerds of Gore. Since episode 290, has anyone other than Casey watched Todd and the Book of Pure Evil animated movie sequel this year?
These are all we did these all last week.
Well, fuck, man.
I tried to warn you.
Someone must have skipped the. Well, I am a professional. I am not looking at the chat because usually it's weird gifs. All right. So let's start with the ones. Did April 12th? From Nerds of Gore, did Eric ever find another super bad penis journal? Is that one we've read?
So
that's the one we wanted to start with.
Mark, you may remember our friend Christina, who lives in Chicago now. She owns somebody got her for Superbad came out, like a replica of his penis. Remember in that movie, he keeps like drawings of penises, like they have that flashback to when he's a little kid and he gets in trouble because he has all these penis drawings that he's caught with. So she has a Superbad like branded journal, and it's like you open it up and you can write in it, but like every 5 or 6 pages is one of those penis drawings from the movie. So then when we were hanging out, we just would like add more to it. Like I did a Freddy Krueger one and shit like that. So I think I was probably talking about wanting to get one myself, but I've never seen another one in the wild.
That's really funny because I've definitely seen like when that movie came out, I definitely saw that book in like music stores or just like stores that have random gift shit, and I thought, who the fuck would ever buy something like
Turns
this?
out it's actually really fun to draw giant wieners as historical figures.
Turns out it's also the person who you'd see on the street and not guess would own the penis book.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
That's funny. So sorry about that for reading all the old tweets. That's just
it's all right. If you showed up next time, you would know that.
Wow, buddy. Let's not go down that
harsh.
Jeez. I was on time for the episode we were supposed to do.
You're just getting all of Schnarz's scorn that he's not here to receive right now.
Yeah, well, I'm out next week, so someone put a little marker on the tweet. I'm going to be right by the beach in Jamaica, so I'll thank you guys. Let's see, next one, Blue Daisy 90. Which one of you is the most hardcore? I sort of cringed using that word. If you can't decide, who's had the worst injury?
Okay.
I was in a hardcore band. Does that count?
Yeah, Mark was in a band, did a lot of dumb stuff.
I yelled a lot.
That might qualify as hardcore.
Despite all the dumb stuff I did, the worst bone I've ever broken was my pinky. So...
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I survived many summers shooting fireworks at my friends while they're shooting them at me, and the worst I ever had was a broken pinky.
Yeah, from like 17 to 19 or 20, I did a lot of partying that you might describe as hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
I dislocated that middle finger, so that's what it looks like straight.
Yikes.
Wow. That's
It
hardcore.
it was dislocated and pointing across these two
Oh,
fingers,
God,
pointing that
dude.
way.
Oh.
Ugh. I broke my arm, but that's about it.
Hardcore.
The last time I injured myself, I was getting ready for work.
Yeah, don't
And
don't tell that story. 'Cause
and I
you're gonna
sprained my ankle. This was a couple years ago. I'm sure I talked about it on the show. I sprained my ankle so bad, it was like over a year and a half ago, and it's still not healed, and I'm starting to think it's never going to fully heal. That's pretty hardcore, right?
It's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
This just turned into an episode of WTF all of a sudden. It's like, well, I got this ankle.
I officially have a bum ankle now. It's great.
That's the Louis
This
C.K.
is your
thing. Well,
this is
it's
your life
just
now. You
your
just have a
ankle's just
shitty ankle.
Shitty now. It's
Yeah.
never gonna get better. It's just shitty.
Yeah, that's my
all right.
reality.
So I think the answer is me. I think that's what we landed on.
I
next-
think I've got more tattoos than you do, but I don't know
Yeah,
what
I think-
constitutes as hardcore.
I think Cece's more hardcore. Mark, do you have a plague mask behind you?
You know what's funny? I was gonna mention that because I saw a picture of a plague mask today, and now I instantly think of Cece whenever I see a plague mask.
Oh, thanks. It's over there. The rest of my studio is really gross, so I'm sorry, but it's over there.
I love it.
Those things are nightmare fuel.
For some reason, I kind of pictured it like hanging in the bathroom, like you're getting ready for the day, and you're like, "All right, last thing, put the plague mask on." And
Exactly. That's how I do it.
Okay, so I'm gonna send you guys this in the chat and have you do some recon for me. Someone has like I think a long oh, here we go, never mind. So this is from Hello Courtney-O. She had a very long question, so it is like larger than a tweet.
Is this the first time? I don't recognize that name.
Yeah, how about that? First time caller.
First time,
I
long
think.
time.
Yeah.
Did anyone else get Clockwork Orange vibes from the art direction of the film? The costumes that a con cyborg soldiers wore, the ladies in the brothel and the lab in Jimmy's flashback were some things that reminded me of it. I guess both films also share a theme of brainwash and mind control if you think about it. If it's an intentional homage, that would give me a new appreciation for Hardcore Henry, as A Clockwork Orange is my favorite movie. P.S. Rick and Morty did The Purge way before The Purge did.
I don't know that I did pick up on that, but it's interesting. I mean, the movie's so referential of so many things; it wouldn't surprise me.
I mean,
I think that's really a really interesting observation, and it'd be really awesome if it was intentional.
All it is referential, right? So like if you're hearing like something that is referenced in it, I can totally buy it. Also, as it relates to Rick and Morty, I have never seen an episode of Rick and Morty, but if you are a listener and you are a big fan, recommend to me what you think the best Rick and Morty episode is, because I work with a bunch of dudes that quote it constantly, and it's made me hate it without ever seeing it, because it's just repeated quotes. And I'm sure I would actually like the show if I watched it, but I just can't bring myself to dive into it.
Is it on
Mark, as
Netflix?
somebody who's watched them all, and I'm not saying this to bait you into looking up something gross, but look up Rick and Morty, Mr. Poopy Butthole.
Is it on Netflix?
I love it.
Is it
on Netflix? I don't know.
Like
I don't think so.
How would you watch it?
AdultSwim.com probably.
That Geek Culture references how it's a blatant reference to to A Clockwork Orange.
Huh. What is?
It says there's no need to overanalyze how the goons physically reference the Matrix or A Clockwork Orange, or literally reference the homogenization of modern Russia security industry.
Homogenization?
Yes, thank you. I'm like, I can't speak right now.
Homogenization better.
Just it's a genitalization of the Russian. What else we got, Mark?
Sorry, I was just looking at a wiki entry. I want to appreciate that the Mr. Poopy Butthole episode is all one word. That's my favorite. It's my favorite. My favorite thing. This is a good one. This is from 40 Ounce Heroes. What is the first FPS you ever played? Mine was the South Park game for Nintendo 64.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I messed around with GoldenEye back in the day a little bit, but my first one I actually played all the way through was Killzone 2, believe it or not. I didn't like shooters that much. I'm sure I played Doom back in the day too, but I sat down with Killzone 2 when I first got the original Killzone, I'm sorry. When I first got my PS2, and man, I played through that game 6 or 7 times. I was obsessed with it for so long.
I've got a real deep cut to share. So my first ever first person shooter was Doom because it was fucking Doom and like everyone had it. My second was Chex Quest, which was a clone of Doom that came as a CD. It came out in 1996. It was like basically a reskinned version of Doom, and the hero was like his head was Chex, like the cereal. And you like
that's crazy.
And you fought little like floppy dudes. Look it up; it's a real thing. Chex Quest.
You like shot cereal at milk or something?
Yeah, but I was fucking terrible at it. I barely remember it, but I do remember
there were lots of Doom clones. We had on CD. I think I ended up buying this on eBay. But
I wish Joe were here so he could say CD-ROM a lot.
But he could tell us about his degree.
Major.
Mark and I had a copy for the PC of Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings, which was the same thing. It was like a reskin of Doom with like
also
terrible,
world's worst game
like
ever.
It was a reskin of Doom, really, really shittily like configured, and then it went to like cutscenes from the movie basically, but like not even necessarily like A-roll stuff. I feel like they were like side like cutscenes, like scenes that weren't in the movie. It was so awful. But
if you ever wanted to see 24 pixel by 24 pixel videos of things that didn't make the cut for Pumpkinhead 2, you should definitely play
I'm just obsessed. Like, I love that shit. I love that era of like weird, obscure video games. And I think that's why I ended up buying it on eBay, because like that's just such a weird ass thing to have existed. I mean, for a movie that went direct to video, for starters.
Well, also like back in the day, before a game even comes out, there's a review on like IGN or Giant Bomb or something, and then you just kind of had to be like, yeah, I mean, I saw this game on a shelf and I'm gonna buy it and see if it sucks, and if it sucks, I'm never gonna play it again. But now I own it forever, and the box is gonna take up space in my house. Like that was the world that we lived in.
Like I have a copy of that, and I have a copy of Full Throttle and Bad Mojo. Like just a bunch of games that I randomly played when I was a kid and like have memories.
Bad Mojo is a good one for any of you who haven't played it. Bad Mojo is like a Myst style puzzle game where you play a cockroach.
Yeah.
Just trying to work your way through the world.
I don't have any deep cuts. I played Duke Nukem and GoldenEye a lot, but my trip to Iceland was pretty much like being in GoldenEye. So if you're a fan of GoldenEye, also go to Iceland.
Man, I can like barely find any images from this game. There are some Let's Plays of it though, which I now really, really, really want to see.
I played Duke Nukem when it came out. I loaded it up on floppy disk, but it was also my first experience with multiplayer because a friend of mine who we were working in a computer shop together, we took our computers over to his house, lugged them down to the basement with the big CRT tubes and everything, and hooked them up with the serial modem cable.
Nice.
And played multiplayer against each other.
That's awesome.
Bing bong.
There's
bing bong.
I mean, just like as long as we're going off on a video game tangent, there's a really good book about the making of Doom, and it's like the story of id Software, and just such. I really, really love those like '90s tech stories. You know what I mean? Of just dudes like sleeping on the floor and then coding this game in their spare time. And it's just so cool.
Also, like a new Doom just came out, right? Is it in beta or is it actually officially out?
There's Doom 4 coming.
There's a multiplayer beta out right now, and then there's a full game coming out soon.
I'm pretty sure my computer would catch on fire if I tried to play it, but I'm still excited about it.
You guys remember the glory days of John Romero and all his hair?
Yep.
Oh, also just random, like I think it's kind of a first-person shooter as a multiplayer. If you ever played Tribes, that was a game I used to love playing. Where it was like a futuristic game where it's a first-person shooter, like multiplayer sort of deal, where you shot this like laser disc gun, and you have a jetpack. So the right click on your mouse is a jetpack, so you're like shooting at each other in the air. But the best part was, at the time I played it, our computer at home and our modem was so slow that I had to time my shots based on the lag. I like trained myself to shoot based on the lag, which
when I think of the way the internet technology was back then, it blows my mind that you could even play like multiplayer online games.
Like right now, nothing works if you don't have the internet.
Yeah.
And like when I was playing Tribes, like if I could actually connect to a server and get into a game, was like a cause for celebration. It was like the best day I've ever had. So be thankful for what you have, kids.
Also, if you like old timey computer stuff, I highly recommend Halt and Catch Fire. which is a show on AMC about same kind of early 80s PC stuff. It's really good.
Sweet. Okay, last two. Fat Duck. Does Casey have any good vape recommendations?
Vapewild.com will be treat you well.
Yes, is that what you do? You don't have like a local vapery?
I do, but they're obnoxious to go into. Because there's me and another friend of mine at work that we go to one in over by work, and he's my age, and we walk in there, we always feel like we're not welcome because there's always a huge cloud, and there's like 4 guys sitting around playing video games.
Well, Casey, why would you work in a vape shop if not to blow sick clouds all day?
Oh, I know. But this place was bad enough that when we first pulled up there, we thought they had tinted windows, and we walked up, we noticed they were clear windows, and the whole building was full of vapor.
I was at a bar last night, and there was a dude like obnoxiously vaping, and I don't know why, but it made me angry. I was just like, you can't. I don't know if there are laws against it yet, but there will be. You should just stop now because you're being a
Yeah, I'm not that guy.
Only vape in close quarters, folks.
Vape responsibly.
The only thing this is like such a in my neighborhood there was a frozen yogurt place called Yogurt Days, which was pretty good, and we went there, and it recently went out of business and was replaced by a vape place, and they only replaced half the sign and just named their business Vape Days. D-A-Z-E.
They're gonna say yogurt vape.
Yeah, I went there and yogurt, look. And I went there, I was like, I want for, and then, that just wasn't there. It was really sad. All right, last one. Yogg's updates. What would a first-person movie about your life be named? Bonus point for alliteration.
Band geeks, beards, and beer.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I need time to mull over that one.
Hugs and drugs.
I needed workshop time before the show to really come up with something good.
Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza.
Hold me close, Tony Danza.
Yeah, we do have to think about that. We'll mull on that one. We should revisit that one next week or 2 weeks from now.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Even better, why don't listeners come up with names for our lives because they know so much about our lives?
Yeah, that's better.
You should definitely tweet us what you think movies about our lives should be called.
I agree. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Mark, what's going on over at bloodygoodhorror.com? It's a website, if people don't know.
Oh my god, it's amazing. New reviews every day. By the time you hear this, we'll have a new list from one of our new writers, Andrew, who is going through the best horror TV shows from various decades. He's actually made it into the 2000s. So that'll be up. I'm not sure if he's doing the whatever the 2010 pluses are called. Probably not. But that's worth checking out. We have new reviews every day. And we're going to start posting more video game content, so check that out. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Look out for my playthrough of Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings.
Dude, you definitely should.
That would actually be really funny.
You really have to do that.
I bet I can find it on GOG or something.
You should definitely do it. YouTube.com/BGH video if you want to check out my Nuclear Throne Let's Play, but we're also going to be posting more. It's just, we're going to become bloody good video games at a point because it's way more fun to play video games.
So can I start just me reading videos? I'm just going to start posting YouTube videos of me reading since everyone gets other...
You can, but I guarantee that's some kind of fetish or something. There is actually a whole series, the whole thing with videos where people speak really softly, and it's like it's a huge thing.
Oh, we should get CC
I'm not a very good
to
public reader.
We should get CC to do a let's play of Zork. She could read it. It'd be perfect.
CC's book corner. Hello, my name is CC, and then you just vape. And then
Just vape the whole time.
What if you read the instructional manuals for video games?
Okay,
There's videos of that too. There's videos where people just vape. The internet's real weird.
Really strange place.
Yeah.
It's amazing, we're all weirdos. It's amazing to think we live so far above the lower crust of weird shit on the internet.
But also I like wading down into there, so.
I actually heard somebody at the vape shop said that he got into it because he wanted to do tricks.
Wow.
Tricks?
Yes.
Hello, donuts and stuff.
I didn't know there was competitions for vaping until some show on TV. So
Portlandia.
I mean, how do you know how
or maybe
sick?
Portlandia, I don't know.
How do you know how sick your cloud is unless you compare it to somebody else's?
Yeah,
That's true.
Portlandia
Seems
had a
like
whole
common sense.
episode on it about their plume contest.
Plume
Oh
contest.
my god. This is like my least favorite conversation we've ever had on the show.
All right, guys. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. Next week, is it called Hush?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's on Netflix, so you too can check it out. That's going to do it for this week, Hardcore Henry. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you soon.
Adios.
See ya.
Bye-bye.